everyone, my name's Emily and you're here with Teddy and Shannon, and I was having some trouble with just a couple areas, and so Shannon offered to come over in our house so she could see us in our natural environment and give us some tips. So when I grab his leash, he kind of walks away.
He didn't always like his walks.
Correct.
So I'm wondering if that is that memory from when he was young. He didn't like the walks, because now when he goes in his harness, he's going to lots of different fun
agility.
And he likes his walks now. He doesn't want the harness because he pairs it with, he used to hate his walks. I think sometimes when they're little and it feels weird and it might be a little bit sensory for them, is leaving the harness out sometimes, like where he could see it more. So like, even like putting it on the ground and then, letting it kind of be, and then you can toss some treats like on it or in it, just around it. So that, that's okay. I got him closer to it. And so sometimes I'll have people just kind of do this. So every time the harness comes out, it becomes like a good, so he gets desensitized to if the side of it, is paired right now with the walks that were negative. But when we have bad experiences about things, we hold on to some part of it. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean that the harness hurt him. It's just that always was put on before it went on the walk.
Right.
So now, he's like, oh my God, we're going on a walk, even though now he likes walks, but it's that first response that we have to change his response to it. So another thing you could do is do this, and let him just keep, throughout every day, look, check out your harness. Look, it's, I'm not always going to put it on right away.
Sure.
Check it out. And then the other thing you could do is have some like liver treats or something super high value cabinet. So when or even in the jar above the cabinet, so before you even open it, he comes over, you give him a whole bunch of super high value treats, then you get out, the harness and you show it to him and he gets high value treats while he's looking, then he gets high value treats when the leash comes out. And so then he starts to go, oh, I'm gonna get a high value treat when I put this on. And then when he puts it on, have him stick his head through, he, gets a high value treat. And then that way he can start to go, when that comes out, you break that first immediate response. So he's going away. We'll make it all this, let it go away. And we'll see if he might, because he's been a little bit desensitized right now already, not respond, but he still could respond the same. So, so call him over to you first, and you give him a piece of the RedBarn, because then it's something different. Oh, mama. Good. So now we got a little higher value treat. Then you can open that, then treat him again. Good. Good boy. And then you can, good. Oh, good. You can even ask him. Yeah, there you go. Good. And then you can get out, pick out, just hold one of them, take one of them out. It doesn't matter which one you have. Go ahead and then treat him now, because he came back to you. See how that time he looked away, but then you thought about it, reinforce him for coming back. That was very good, actually, Teddy. Good boy. Good boy. And then you could even put that on the ground if you want, just so. And then you can put a little there. And he's like, oh, okay. And then you can juice up some more. Then you can get out the harness and then treat him for staying, because that was very good. Good boy. And then have him sit, because he's doing a little back up. Hey, sit. Think about that. Good. It's like you have that thing on. I'm not sure if you're gonna trap me. Good boy. Very good boy. And then you can put that on the ground too, and then see what he does. That one, he definitely knows the difference. I think it's a little bigger. It's got a little different sound. And then you can, good boy. Ooh. See how he's a little stretchy? Yeah. He's not fully, like if you tried to put it on now, he would just run away, because he's not fully part of the party yet. No. Now he's back leg scooted up a little bit, so he's a little bit more. You might be able to ask him to sit now.
Teddy,
If he backs up or if he,
Teddy, sit.
good, that wasn't too bad, good. Now, if you pick up the harness, just pick it up and let's see what it'll do. Okay, so again, then give it to him for staying. Good boy.
Whoa.
Good boy. Well, that was better. And then have him sit again.
Teddy, sit.
Good boy. Now see if you like show him a harness and see if he backs away. Good
Good.
boy. That was good. I thought he might back away. That's why I was going slow. Good
Good
boy.
Good.
Very good. And then you can throw some treats or other treats over there for a minute, just so you can reset them again. This time, sit in one of those chairs, just take the harness out, and then hold it so the head opening is open. Get open, give him a little more please. Good boy. That was still better, because see, now he's at least getting a reinforcer for staying, you know.
Yeah, he didn't run to the
See,
corner.
his reaction was that he stopped it. So then, now see if he'll come closer to you, with it. I'm watching his back legs, because his back legs stayed behind, but he's not fully engaged in. Since I'm cycling. Now he knows more that we're probably gonna try to put it on. So that's why you notice how he's like, his ears are back a little bit more, his tail's down.
Yeah.
His back legs are still stretched a tiny bit. They're not, that was a better step.
Good boy. Ooh.
And this is where the high values, really something that's like, there might be hot dogs, it might be chicken, it might be steak, it might be turkey bacon, you know, something that he's like, that is more valuable than dealing with my fear. So good, that's okay. And then see if he'll come back towards you, even though you just moved it.
Good boy.
And then see if you can, he'll take the treat that's in your right hand, that's through the hoop, yeah, just, and like lower it with the harness being on your wrist. And see if he'll take it. See how he's stretching a little bit more
Yeah.
now because he's
Yeah.
like, okay. Because what we want him to eventually do is be able to put his own head through the harness so that you're not having to go to him, he comes to you. And so this way you keep teaching him to come towards you. And you want to do this not like a lot of times when you don't have to put the harness on.
Right, we're not.
Yeah,
doing
you're
it.
not doing anything, because otherwise what happens is people do this for 5 minutes and they're like, okay, now we gotta go on our walk. And then they just like ruin it. You might still have to go on, you know, put it on, but maybe you put the leash on and you know, put him in the car and then put it in the car.
Yeah.
Break it up so it's not, you don't wanna be chasing him, because the more you keep chasing him, that was a good choice, but he's still stretching his back legs a little bit. But he's not, that one, he was like, okay, I can come do
Good
this.
boy.
And then eventually, you know, you want to be able to hold that harness up so he just sticks his head right through the head part. Have some in your palm and lift with your other hand, lift the harness up a little bit so that he almost has to like kind of stick his head through, but that just like that. And let's see if he makes, what choice he makes. He's thinking about it. But he's like, oh, the harness moved a little. Oh. But I know, tough choices. He's like, he keeps looking at me like, these are not the games we're supposed to be playing. We're supposed to be doing agility. Toss a treat like towards him.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
And it's definitely, I think, the sound.
The
He
sound.
knows the sound. That's why he knows the difference between the harness and the leash.
Can I
Because
take the clips
yeah,
off?
let's take the clips off.
And Molly, I'll go grab more treats while I take
Yes,
the clips
while you
off.
take a little break, and then you can take them in, because it's definitely the sound. Which
Yeah.
You never know if it's sound, visual, or smell with them. Sometimes it can be texture too, like if they're walking on something. But that was definitely the sound that made him move away. Oh, see, and see, because it was more quiet, so he was more willing. Did you see that? How he was like, oh. Now it's still, he still knows the visual of it. Just throw him to him because he's thinking about it.
Still hold it up like this.
Yeah. Put it back down. Let's see if we can get him to come back. That might have to be the next
Yeah.
step that he's not ready for. No.
Good.
So that, but isn't it interesting, just lifting it makes it, because that's more like you're gonna put it on him. So after he's continues better like this for a little while, then you can start lifting it and have him do, and then eventually, good boy. Excellent. Then eventually you'll lift it and you'll pull your hand through so he has to stick his own head through the.
Yeah.
Good boy.
Good.
And see, it makes a difference with your treats, because he doesn't want to do this for something that's not as high a value.
Right.
It's like, it's too scary, it's too hard, I don't want to do it, and,
Good boy.
and you can see every time you lift it, he does scoot back just a tiny hair, but then he comes back for the treat, so. And then this time he didn't sit quite as far away, he didn't completely avoid. I think taking the clips off is a good idea too when you put it on. Keep the clips off until he's got it on and then put the clips on.
Okay.
Because I think the clips make it scary, and for him, maybe the sound is associated when he was walking and he could hear them, and that's part of it. But without having to tell us for sure. But definitely, there's a piece of that. Put another RedBarn in your hand, because he wanted to go forward. And then I could see him.
Yeah. He's like,
Okay, you're gonna have another one. Good boy. And you see that time he actually stayed a little longer. And then you'll just do this for a little bit. And if you have high enough value treats, I think he will. And now he doesn't, he just walks. Now he's doing agility. He's doing so many fun things now.
right.
That he'll eventually forget that he didn't like it.
Well, and now it's so funny because usually I walk him these days just with a flat collar because he thinks they're so boring that he just like sniffs the whole time. We're not exercise walking.
Yeah.
So the only time he gets his harness is like to go to agility.
Yeah. Or when he goes to therapy work and stuff. Yeah.
Because I know he'll pull because he's so excited.
Yeah. So it might also be good to start practicing having it on, even on walks, because as he gets bigger and as he, goes new places, he might pull, and you'll want that because it's good for him anyway, where something other than the flat collar is if he did pull a cat, man, or a squirrel, we don't want him to damage his trachea and his esophagus or his nerves and his vertebrae.
Yeah.
So having him get used to it, and you might put the leash, especially while you're doing this pairing, maybe you put the leash on, just the collar, go out to the front porch, and then put the harness on so that you don't ruin this routine. So it doesn't become like, is she gonna try to trap me or not? You gotta build this. And then once he starts putting his head through, it'll make it a lot easier, for you to be able to do. So, and it's not that uncommon for dogs just to I don't know if for him, clearly the noise makes a difference. If it just feels weird, if they just don't like more things going over their head, I've seen it, and I know this isn't his case, but dogs who have had choke chains, pinch collars, or shock collars, they don't like new things going over their head. So I have to do a similar thing with dogs like that too, who've had, more traditional training. But sometimes I have some puppies who I think it's also a sensory thing. I have 2 that are now adults and they'll let me put the harness on, but when they were young, I think it just felt weird. It felt have it on, so they didn't want to have it on.
Especially when you're little, it's a lot.
Exactly. But they were also wild, so that we needed to correct their neck. So see, now he's like, his feet are underneath him now. He's not stretching. You might be able to lift it a little bit and then give him more, but then eventually, you'll be able to just have him stick his whole head through. But because your hand will be there, you would lift it like that, and then, slowly pull your hand back, so then he would stick his head through. But now he's like staying in the game, because we haven't done anything dramatic to scare him or catch him. he's building that trust, and it's like, that's too much. And then that was okay. See, just that, it's just that
1 inch.
1 inch, exactly. But he's staying now. I mean, and he has total choice to leave this game at any time if he wanted to leave. He's still stretching again.
Oh, yes, I can see it.
Yeah, because you lifted it, which is okay because he's stretching, but he's staying. Stretching is one of the signs that they're a little nervous about something. Dogs do it all the time. I joke that they're like, if I keep my back legs back here, I'll stay safe from the scary thing up here, which is really not true. It would be very difficult for him to run away if you stretch like that. So it's kind of like us where we're like, well, I'm holding onto the guardrail, so I'm not gonna fall over this cliff, but the guardrail doesn't even have anything.
Right.
It's like barely nailed in, so it's that false sense of that was
Good
better. So now he's
job.
got his nose through there.
And how do you know when to stop?
You'll want to stop when, oh, that's very good, boy. I kind of watched them, when he took those breaks, that was a perfect break. I might do just a little more and then stop while he's still ahead. So like, maybe do 1 or 2 more like that because he still wants to play because we have other training to do. And then eventually you would be able to put that whole thing, which is much as he's progressing right now, you'll probably be able to do it pretty quick if you just did this a little bit.
Right.
And then maybe stop on that one because he was like, just so he doesn't get freaked out. Yeah, so. And that was actually really good because that is something that happens a lot with puppies. And a lot of times it also happens because we're in such a hurry that we're like, come home from work. Oh, we gotta get the dog for a walk. And so we just like slap it. They run away and we don't pay attention. We grab their collar, we throw it on them and we like take them out for a walk, which some dogs you can do that for, but if they're afraid of the harness and that's your, routine, then sometimes they start to avoid you and they don't want to come near you. And so this way, you just do this a couple times in the day, and then probably now, like if we had to go on a walk, he would be more willing to put it on because we just had this positive experience. We were gonna work on other stuff, but
Good boy.
and I think he would probably in a very short period of time, be okay with it. It's where sometimes it's nice when, as puppies, when you're putting them on, just always give them a treat.
Sure.
As when you're first starting off with the harness, like, here's your treat, put your head through, here's your treat, put your head through, and then they'll, just get used to it. But 2 things, like when your mom was visiting and she was talking about the dog that she got from a show person who had a show lead on, like he's 9 now, 10, and he's still afraid of having harnesses, or at least just, and then she does all the treats and she does all the right things. But he in early memory had all that negative stuff on his neck. And then my old dog who's passed, Happy, when I inherited him when he was a year, he his whole life when we would walk and we went fun places, and he would lay flat as a pancake on the ground. He wouldn't run away, but he would just lay like it was almost impossible to get the harness on, because I think his previous owner, she would use general leader, she did all things, and I think she just got frustrated with him, and so she would just like force him. Yeah. And it didn't matter how much I worked with him because that early trauma was so deep. And Happy had a general anxiety going on that, it was before we weren't really giving medications as much, on a regular. He probably would have benefited from an anti-anxiety medication, but we just never did it because he didn't affect my lifestyle with him. So I didn't worry about it, but he probably would have benefited from that. So, you want it to be early. And what's great here is he's not going,
because it's right
it's
here.
right there. Yeah. And he's that trust is still there. And so I think if you just work on it a little bit, because some dogs would still be running away, but because you have such a bond with him and you work so hard with him and it's always been positive, he trusts you that you're not going to go and do something to hurt him. So that was very good. That was a lot of brain, and that's what other people have to realize is that's a lot of brain work.
That was a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, we'll still can do some training, but that wasn't obedience, but that was working through a fear and working through possibly he could consider it a trauma, that he
Sure.
was, because he thought walks were terrible back then. And he could have had all of that,
Yeah.
kind of going on. So, but that was very good. So that was more like emotional work. That wasn't really obedience, but it goes hand in hand because you have to be able to wear their collars, they have to be able to wear their harnesses. And if you can make it so they want to put their head in, it makes it so much easier. That would be something you want to practice if you can every day, if you can multiple times a day.
Okay.
Try not to pair it when you're practicing with taking him so he doesn't think you're tricking him. So you could easily, the way your house is laid out, put this collar on. You could put the harness on the porch before you put the collar on and go out there and then put it there, or put it in the car if you're going in the car.
Okay.
That way you don't make him question is this gonna be the real?
Is this the one?
Yeah, is this the one we're gonna catch here?